campus of my school. And I was just finishing my first class of economy and my last lecture of the day. Sister Margaret had talked about free trade, free commerce. She had said so many interesting things about economy that I didn't even think a nun could know. I mean, I guess being a nun doesn't make you any less educated. Maybe I should become a nun. It's not like there's a guy standing between me and my vows of chastity anyway. I mean, my boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, whatever, he was thousands of miles away. We hadn't spoken in forever. And it didn't feel like I had anyone there. Thinking about Heath, through my little inner rant, I heard this horrible noise. I swear, it was just terrifying. It was Sarah yelling my name across campus. Sarah was my stepmother, or stepmonster as I lovingly refer to her. She was this horrible, vile woman. You could feel the evil just pour out from her veins. She was truly horrible. I swear, if all women were like her, you could almost completely and irrefutably justify femicide. I digress. Through my little inner rant, I realized that she was still yelling, and I was sitting there staring at her like a moron. Of course. We walked to the car, and the entire way to the car, she wouldn't shut up. Not even a little. She just kept talking and talking and talking. It was really horrible. Once we got to the car, I turned up the radio as loud as I could. So she'd shut up, just for a little while. That would be great. Once I got on and started listening to what was on the radio, it was the Congress talking. They were talking about the proliferation of violence and how the terrorists were somehow causing it. Yeah. They were just probably trying to find more ways to justify the war that our troops were fighting overseas. Speaking of troops fighting overseas, Heath was overseas. Heath was the love of my life. He was my boyfriend or whatever. I really didn't know what he was. But I did miss him terribly. He'd always dreamed about joining the army. He said it was an honor, not an obligation. And I was never really patriotic or anything, but you have to admit, it's pretty damn sexy to think about some soldier fighting in the war, bullets and toxic gases flying everywhere. Yeah, it's pretty hot. But I digress again. In the middle of my rant, I realized that we were in front of my house, or what used to be my house. Somehow Sarah turned the beautiful old Victorian into a torture chamber from the Middle Ages. She had literally figured out a way to make everything in my life a living hell. And of course, before we got out of the car, she had to sit there and check her makeup. I thought what I thought all the time. If I scrubbed the pounds of makeup off her Botoxed face, would there be a 666 tattooed straight across her forehead? I think so. We walked into the house, and I half expected it to look like the torture chamber it felt like, but it was a common scenario. Big fluffy dog sleeping on the stairs, couch, flat screen TV, nothing you could use against a teenager that would be thought of to be against universal rights. But she's creative, you'd be surprised. Anyway, I got over the witch, and I call her a witch for lack of a more colorful word that I'd like to use. I got away from her, and I went to find my dad. He was lying on the couch watching fishing shows. Super typical of him. He got up and he got this big goofy dad smile on his face that made me so happy. He got up, he hugged me, he called me Buttercup. I loved it when he called me Buttercup. It was a moment of true happiness. We sat down to watch fishing shows like we always did. It's just normal daughter-dad stuff. And then through the TV I heard it. Breaking news. There was an atomic bomb that had gone off right near where Heath was stationed. I didn't know what to do. I was hysterical. I grabbed my phone and I ran upstairs. I called everyone. I'm serious. I called everyone. No one knew where he was or even if he was okay. I did everything I could do, and as soon as I opened my stupid computer and connected it to the internet, the news of the blast was plastered everywhere, all over social networks. There was no way I could get away from it. I sent messages to everyone, and finally, I sent Heath an email. The next few days were a blur. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember the days going by. I don't remember anything. And then, on Wednesday, at 11:45, I got an email. I thought it was just some spam or anything, but it was Heath. He had come. He had found a way to communicate with me, and he told me he was coming home, that he was sorry he couldn't talk to me, that he was sorry that things had gotten so out of hand. I was so happy. I swear I almost peed myself. I was so happy. I went downstairs to tell my dad, and I could feel like him genuinely being happy for me. And then before I left, he told me, hey, you should tell your mother. I stopped. I had to correct it. She wasn't my mother. She was my step-monster. And even if the Pope himself came down from the Vatican and asked me to be nice to her, it wasn't going to happen. So you should just get over it. Anyway, something stupid like that wasn't going to get me upset. Heath was coming home. I got all dressed up, and I was super happy about it. I went to the airport, and when I saw him, oh my God. He looked so sexy in his uniform. You have no idea. I almost melted. I ran up to him and I hugged him. I told him I loved him, and before I could say anything else, he threw his bag on the ground, got down on one knee, and asked me to marry him. He was insane! I was 19, freshly graduated from high school. We had no future plans for our life. What were we going to do? Of course I said yes. What else was I going to do? So we were so happy, and we kissed and everything. It was truly happy. The crowd went wild at the airport. It was like a movie. My own personal fairy tale. Well, then we walked to the car holding hands. Once I got in the car, though, I blurted out, oh, crap. And he looked at me with those puppy dog eyes, wondering if I had changed my mind or something. I told him, you know, we have to tell my parents. He just laughed and said, it's okay, baby. We can elope. We can go to Las Vegas if you want. It was very funny. That wasn't going to happen. We both knew it. So the day came to tell my parents. I knew what my stepmother would say. What was her 19-year-old freshly out of high school, college freshman with no future career in mind going to do? She's going to get married? What were the neighbors going to say? Yeah, because that's all she worried about. Anyway, it was horrible, and it was dramatic, and there was screaming, and glasses broke, and it was what I expected it to be. But Heath was there. Me and Heath, together, we could do anything. We could survive anything. So, the day of the wedding came, and I was so happy. I did everything a bride does, you know? We planned the parties. I got my white dress on, my pretty white dress that I loved. I got something blue, something new, something old, something borrowed, the works. While I was getting dressed, I heard it. It's unlike any sound you'll ever hear. door. I heard people screaming, car alarms going off. I didn't know what was happening. All you could feel was panic and sorrow in the air. I don't know how you feel sorrow, but it was there, I promise. I ran outside, and when I saw it, Keith's car was on fire. His mom was lying on the curb crying. And then I felt someone tackle me. It was my uncle and my cousin dragging me back into church, telling me there was nothing I could do. What did they mean there was nothing I could do? I couldn't just stand there and watch Keith die. He was dying in that car. What did they want me to do? Stand around and watch him like some moron? The love of my life was dying. They stayed there with me until I calmed down. They went to get my dad, and I was left there in church alone, wearing my pretty white dress. And here we are again, from the beginning. I'm standing here in this stupid church, wearing this stupid dress, but it doesn't feel right. The white I'm wearing doesn't feel right. I should be wearing black from head to toe. I'm not celebrating a new life together. I'm not celebrating a love. He died. The love of my life died. I'm mourning the death of the love of my life. It's not fair. This isn't supposed to happen. I later realized that what had happened was that some guy in the Middle East decided that he was going to send us a message. His message was that if we messed with him, he'd mess with us. They put a bomb in the park in front of the church. He just pulled up by coincidence. There's some very negative leaders out there, and they should be stopped. This is the shard of metal that broke through Keith's heart, killing him, and somehow broke mine in the process. This is all due to some stupid wars, some stupid people doing stupid things. I will never let Keith's memory be lost. Ever. Nor will anybody else's memory that died on that day, or any day like it. It isn't fair. And that's why I joined the army a month later. Because I'm going to protect my country from this. And as he always said, it isn't an obligation, it's an honor. I'm here today to tell you guys, here to share my sad story, so that you'll think about it, and you'll get involved. Because what if this happens to you?